everybody for coming for this special session on mindful leadership today. It's our honor and fortune to have with us Shri Gauranga Das. He's a mindful leadership consultant and is running initiatives related to meditation, yoga, and preventive de-addiction, and thus empowering thousands of youth to positively transform their lives. He is on the board of advisors of the Chanakya IAS Academy and is involved in training future bureaucrats and public leaders in responsible mindful leadership with character and integrity based on the principles of Bhagavad Gita. He is a corporate coach, an environmental steward, an inspirational speaker, and has spoken at various conferences including TEDx. He has been invited at the Google headquarters to speak on Greed to Green and has given more than 10,000 discourses in the last 2 decades on Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, amongst other scriptures. He is Temple President, ISKCON Chapati, Director of Govardhan Eco Village, Trustee of ISKCON GBC College, Global Duty Officer of ISKCON, Divisional Director of Devotee Care, Temple Development, Systems and Administration of ISKCON Temples Worldwide. He is a masterpiece chef, and he was featured on the National Geographic Channel as one of the India's mega kitchen cooks that serves more than 10,000 people at a time. Personally, he has cooked more than 3 million plates of sanctified vegetarian meals in the 2007-2017 period in temple and pilgrimage kitchen. An extraordinary teacher and academician, he is a trustee of vast manuscripts library containing approximately 20,000 works on a vast variety of Indians' ancient religions and cultures. He is also the chairman of Bhaktivedanta Vidyapeeth Research Center, a center affiliated with Mumbai University for Indian Philosophy and Vaishnavism. He has presented several research papers in ecology and theology and is a Bachelor's of Technology graduate from IIT Bombay. So please join me in welcoming. Just few housekeeping things. After the program is over, we will be serving Indian refreshments, so request you, please don't leave without partaking. If you are from outside and if you have your parking ticket, UConn office will validate, so just have your ticket handy with you. And if you wish to be informed about future events like this at this location at our local temple in Glastonbury, then please share your email ID and phone number with Ganpati Govind. Thank you very much.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurundratam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to come before all of you and share something on mindfulness and mindful leadership. It is a concept which has been there in our tradition, especially in the Vedic tradition since time immemorial. Recent data demonstrate that in the last 3 decades, the stress levels have been growing exponentially. And annually, the cost which in America itself they have to pay due to stress-related disorders is more than $300 billion. And there has been an increasing instance of suicide, especially in India also. And annually, we have this statistics that on a per year basis, every day, at least 320 people are committing suicides, mainly due to stress, anxiety, and related disorders. So naturally, when I was studying in IIT, I had gone there to study technology, and I definitely felt that was one of the best schools. But I also saw that a lot of people are experiencing anxiety and stress. And many people ask me the question, how are you connected to the Gita and things like this? So well, in my last year I came across one of my friends who was a fairly good student, but then somehow He was depressed due to some incident and he attempted to commit suicide. And then somehow he survived that attempt, and I asked him, why you were trying this suicide? Because I was telling him that so many students are dying to get inside IIT. And you are inside IIT. He said that I am so much used to being the gold medalist here, that in this one exam, I could not be the gold medalist. I came second, and I couldn't handle it. So it suddenly lighted up something within me, because till then I was always thinking that it is achievements which count. But it looks like apart from achievements, it's your expectations and your emotions and your feelings which also have a role to play in your overall experience. And in that same campus, I had my 4 or 5 other friends who had failed in 3 to 4 subjects. And they were moving around the campus blissfully, as if nothing has happened. They were giving blessings to others. And I was shocked, because I approached them and said, I thought you should be the guys who should be more depressed. But you have failed in 4 subjects. You seem to have no remorse. What's going on here? The other guy just missed a gold medal by some small percentage and he is totally depressed. So what's the secret of your bliss? And they said, our philosophy in life is very simple. Entering college is our job, taking us out of college is college's job. So they had their own framework, which they had created as far as their expectation. So the fact is that all of us have expectations and all of us face realities. And this gap between the expectation and reality creates the stress. And therefore, we find that traditionally, we have this concept of the Vedic wisdom where practically a lot of focus is given not just on events, but how we process the events and perceive the events through our mind. And so, WHO has certified that perfect health is a synergy between body, mind, and soul. And many times people ask me that you are from IIT and you are giving lectures on Gita. So it is very confusing. What are you? Are you engineer? Are you doctor? So I say I am a Vedic psychiatrist, which means we are dealing with the subject of mental health. So therefore, when we speak about mind, we are speaking about a subtle entity within, which is responsible for all of our thoughts, all of our feelings, and then ultimately actions are precipitated based on decisions which are made. So when we are speaking about mindfulness, what exactly does mindfulness mean? So these are some of the thoughts which I would like to share with you based on the Bhagavad Gita. The first principle of mindfulness is observation. We observe things around us, we observe what's going on, and based on that observation, we come to the second stage of what is known as awareness. Now when I speak about observation, why it is so important to observe? Because many times we are just living life so mechanically that we are even unable to observe things which are happening right around us. Sometimes people say that it has been a long time since I ever saw the sun rise. It's a long time since I saw the moon in the sky. We are surrounded by things, but we fail to observe them because the second principle, awareness, is not there. So we observe, and then when we observe things, we have to become aware about the presence of those things right at this moment. When there is observation and awareness, then you have the ability to make choices. So the third principle is choice. And therefore, the Vedic paradigm, as far as the Gita is concerned, the knowledge which was spoken by Krishna to Arjuna, in between the two armies, and the chariot was standing right in the middle, and Krishna was speaking the Gita. I think I see a few copies of the Bhagavad Gita out there available for distribution after the event. So on the cover page, you will see this famous battle happening. And before the battle, the very powerful warrior Arjuna, who is extremely skilled, influential, expert, successful, who has never lost a battle in life, is supposed to be an epitome of confidence. But when he sees the circumstances in front of him, he becomes nervous. What makes him nervous? Because when he was seeing Duryodhana and Dushasan, people whom he doesn't like, who he certifies as confirmed enemies, so he is inspired to fight and kill them. Circumstances change a little bit, and he sees his grandfather Bhishma and he sees his teacher Drona. And as soon as he sees his teacher and grandfather, suddenly a different identity starts springing up. His identity as a warrior is convinced, I must kill, but his identity as a grandson says, I must show affection to grandfather. His identity as a student says, I must show respect to the teacher. So now suddenly there are two identities. He has an identity as a soldier, warrior, an identity as a grandson, he has an identity as a student. And all of these three identities start conflicting. And the major cause of depression which the world is facing today is conflicting identities or identity crisis. It is the biggest crisis. And this happened to Arjuna when he didn't have a Facebook page also. What to speak of multiple identities being added today by all of us. So therefore, the third principle is, how do we make choices? We make choices based on observation, based on awareness. When there is observation and awareness, we can make the right choices. There was this traveler who came all the way from Germany for the first time to India, and he came to Mumbai and he visited the famous Udupi restaurant. Those of you I see from India must be aware and must have heard about Udupi restaurants. You may have visited also some of them. So this was many years ago, where they used to only serve idli, dosa, vada. Nowadays they serve pizza, everything. To be relevant. And they used to serve out in banana leaf, traditionally. So this traveler came and he was offered idli, dosa, chutney, vada, everything he ate. He didn't know what to do with the banana leaf. He started eating that also. Because it was the first experience for him. On the way out, the manager asked him at the counter when he was paying the money, "Sir, how was the food?" So the traveler said, "The food was good, the salad was stiff." That was his whole idea, that it was part of the salad. He did not know what to do with it. So many people, they get confused about the rituals, the languages, the various kinds of, things which exist in different parts of India, not knowing that all of these are tied together by a wisdom which actually solves modern day issues which all of us are facing in our offices, in our jobs, in our relationships, in our families, in our own personal lives. So therefore, we have to focus on this wisdom. And that's the wisdom which, when in confusion, Krishna spoke to Arjuna for only 1 hour. The duration of time we will be spending together here is the duration Krishna spent speaking to Arjuna. And he didn't speak to Arjuna anything about missile technology. He did not speak to him anything about arms and ammunition and warfare, because Arjuna had enough skills. Arjuna had competence. Arjuna knew what is a fight. Arjuna knew how to fight. Arjuna just forgot why he must fight. Arjuna had the skill to fight. He lost the will to fight. And today, when technology is growing more and more, and we have the most sophisticated means available and accessible to all of us, majority of the people in this world do not require more and more knowledge and skills. Skills is something they can learn even online. But what real help people are needing is, they need help in ensuring that they have the will to continue working for the right purpose which they have determined in their lives. And as Churchill says, success is the ability to go from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. That's something which the regular education system is not teaching. If it was, the depression numbers would not be so much. And therefore, when your observation, awareness, and choice, based on that, the fourth principle is, there is expanded decision making. There is an ability to make the right decisions. Why? Because you are clear about all the different choices which you have. Why? Because you have observed, you are aware. If you are only focused on few things, then your choices will also be from those only. And based on that, the decision will be made. So the more you observe, more you are aware, the more choices you connect with, then your decision making is also more mature. And therefore it is said that the message is important, but what is more important is how we communicate the message. And so Krishna spoke the Gita to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. But that knowledge of the Gita is still relevant today. And I see so many of you from India. But you ask so many Indians, and they will say that, well, I'm not very sure whether the Gita is relevant in my life or not. In fact, I was showing the Gita to one of the people in the local trains in Mumbai. And he was asking me a question, is the Gita for free? And I said, no, it is not for free. It is for 70 rupees. He started challenging me. He said, Krishna spoke the Gita to Arjuna free. Why you are charging 70 rupees? I said, Krishna spoke to Arjuna in Kurukshetra. This is Mumbai, 70 rupees is transport charge. So many times you may wonder, is the Gita relevant even today? Okay, it may have been spoken to Arjuna in Kurukshetra 5,000 years ago on a chariot. It's fine. But you know, I'm having an iPhone. I'm here in Hartford. You know, I'm tech savvy. How is this knowledge going to help me? It will, because we are still facing the same issues: identity crisis, anxiety disorders, stress, and the gap between expectation and reality makes us difficult to process what I really need to do. And so it's very important for us to communicate this message properly. Like there was this cola company which was trying to distribute a cola in Middle East. And they had this amazing advertising campaign where they showed 3 slides in one big advertisement. The first slide showed that there is a man who is riding a camel. The sun is beating on his head. He is completely frustrated, depressed, distressed due to the heat. Then the second slide shows he gets hold of the cola and starts drinking. And then the third slide showed that after drinking the cola, he is blissful. There's a smile on his face. But they found that the sales was not increasing. And then they realized they made a mistake, that in Middle East, the Arabic language is not read left to right, it is read right to left. So people were watching this whole ad right to left. The guy is blissful, gets the cola, becomes depressed. So the message was beautiful, but how it was communicated and how it was interpreted. So therefore, we need to understand that the knowledge of the Gita may be ancient, but it contains the technology which is required to translate our anxieties into peace. We can actually process our experiences in a way by which we can actually get tangible benefit out of this knowledge. And therefore, this is the concept of expanded decision making, where you observe, you're aware, you make choices, you make the right decisions based on all of this body of knowledge. And then when you make the right decision, you have new possible actions. So that's the fifth principle of how new actions are possible. Otherwise, you may not even contemplate this. So, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna told Krishna, Vepathuscha sarire me roma harshascha jayate, gandiva sramshate hastat tvakchaiva paridahya. Based on his limited observation, he just saw my teacher is there, my guru is there, my grandfather is there, they must be respected, loved, I cannot harm them, I cannot hurt them, it is sinful. Therefore, I am not going to fight, period. So he had a limited body of understanding till that moment. Krishna explained the Gita to Arjuna to help him observe something which he was not observing. That beyond this body, there is something within which does not change. That is the soul. So Arjuna, you are wearing the hat of a soldier, you are wearing the hat of a student, you are wearing the hat of a grandson. But I am revealing one more thing. You are a spiritual spark. Observe that. Become aware of that. Contemplate on that. Then make choices based on that. Once you have that choice also available to act as a spiritual spark, your whole decision making would differ. Based on that, your action would change. And then Arjuna realized, yes, I have another identity which does not change with the changing of all these material and physical identities. And therefore, when we take action based on that, then the most important sixth point which all of us are awaiting comes, which is results. So therefore the result would also differ. It would also be of a different dimension, of a different type. And this basically are the different aspects of what we call as mindfulness. So when we speak about mindfulness, we are speaking about a series of various steps as I've just described. Can we go again through the list? First is? Second? Awareness. Third? Loudly. Fourth? Fifth? Action. And then? Results. So therefore, why we are speaking about this? because amongst, various animals and species, the goldfish is considered to be one of the most, as they call it, chanchal, fickle, and the attention span is less than 9 seconds. So human beings, at least 30 years ago, had an attention span of 12 seconds. Now, there was a whole survey which was done by Microsoft Corporation, and they came up with the data that it has gone less than 8 seconds. So overall attention spans are going down, minds are becoming filled with anxiety, people are physically present but mentally absent. And therefore mindfulness means that we begin by observing, yes, I have a mind which has two primary characteristics. That's our next topic. When we speak about mindfulness, let's now focus on the mind. So the mind has primarily two big issues. It has hyperactivity, and due to hyperactivity there is distraction. So distraction caused by hyperactivity. And then when there is distraction, you cannot focus on anything. And in general the mind is hyperactive, it is distracted. What to speak of when you add on that the information overload which the mind is subjected to today? What to speak of all the various WhatsApp messages and the emails and the various kinds of notifications which come up and get thrown at us every moment. Even without anything, if you go and sit in a forest, the mind will be distracted. If you surround yourself with gadgets, how much more it will remain distracted. So therefore, this is the first principle, the distraction of the mind. And the distraction of the mind creates a lot of anxiety because one is unable to focus. So in the Ramayana, there is a beautiful story that the monkey army, they went along with Ram and Lakshman on the campaign against Ravana. So the monkey soldiers saw that Ram and Lakshman are doing fasting for Ekadashi, which is once in 14 days a fast comes. So the monkeys decided, we will also do fasting. So they said, okay, tomorrow is fasting day, we are not supposed to eat anything tomorrow. But then one monkey said, but day after tomorrow we have to break the fast. So he already started thinking ahead. So if day after tomorrow we have to break the fast, for that we need to climb the tree and pluck the fruit. Because they are monkeys, they have to find their own food. So they said, that monkey said, I have heard that on the day of fast, you become so weak that you do not have any strength remaining to climb a tree on the day after the fast. So if we do not have strength to climb the tree, how we will pluck the fruit? And so the fasting will continue next day also. I suggest we climb the tree today only, one day before fast, and do the fasting on the tree, so that we are as close to the fruit as possible. What a brilliant idea. Amazing. What a strategic thinker. So all the monkeys went and sat on the tree. Another monkey raised his hand and said, I have one worry. I said, hey, what is your worry? He said, I heard the fasting makes the body so weak. We will not have enough strength to pluck the fruit from that branch. The fruit is there, we are there, but if I don't have strength to pluck the fruit, what is the point? He said, oh, very, very beautiful point. What should we do? Pluck the fruit and keep it in the hand one day before fast. Amazing. So they all plucked the fruit and kept. Another monkey said, I have heard that fasting makes the bones so stiff that the next day, even if you hold the fruit in the hand will not bend only because of fasting. So the fruit is there, but if the hand doesn't bend, how will we eat? So better we keep that fruit in one corner of the mouth. Today itself, one day before fast. And another monkey said, I have heard fasting locks the jaw and you can't move the jaw because of weakness. What should we do? Better we chew that fruit one day before fast. It will help the day after fast. So another said, you have done so much, eat now only. So as they say, that worry is like a rocking chair. It keeps you agitated but takes you nowhere. So therefore, one of the biggest challenges the world is facing is not lack of sophistication of the machine, but lack of motivation of the man behind the machine. So therefore, we are trying to help provide some idea about how the mind functions so that you are aware of the hyperactivity which creates distraction. The second element is dullness. So, apart from distraction, dullness is created. What does dullness mean? Dullness means that the mind just doesn't seem to take interest in several topics. It just switches itself off completely. And therefore, the dullness of the mind is that you start getting bored. You start getting, feeling that, oh, how long this will continue. And then it happens all the time that when we begin something, we are very interested. After some time, the mind says, okay, let's move on. And the dullness of the mind is a major issue. Like I tell the story, typical house, father is teaching the son mathematics. Father is more interested than the son. Son is more interested in the cricket match, which has been switched off on the television. So the father is telling the son, how much is 9 multiplied by 8? And the son is saying, 78. And father says, well done, take a cookie. The father's friend says, hey, what mathematics are you teaching? 9 multiplied by 8 is 72. He is selling 78, you are rewarding him. Father says, yesterday I asked the same question to him, 9 into 8. He said 88. Today he has come to 78. In 2 days he will come to 72. What can I do? I want him to be Einstein and Newton. Doesn't mean he is going to become like that. So what is the biggest handicap to learning? Both this distraction and dullness. It prevents us from focusing on what is there right in front of us. And this is a major challenge for all of us to go through. So therefore, in one shloka in Gita, Krishna explains about the mind. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramathi balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayor iva sudushkaram. So Krishna says, what are the 4 main characteristics of the mind? Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramathi balavat. So M-I-N-D. M stands for mighty. Balavat means mighty. The mind is very strong, very powerful. Okay. I stands for intoxicated. Pramathi. When someone is intoxicated, you tell them anything, it doesn't make sense to them. Cannot hear good advice so easily. N stands for nomadic, roaming, not focused. And D stands for disobedient. So therefore, whenever you think of the mind, remember this verse from the Gita, where the mind is mighty, intoxicated, nomadic and disobedient. Tasyaham nigraham manye vayor iva sudushkaram. It is easier to control the wind than to control the raging mind. Therefore, the mind's nature is distracted, the mind's nature it is dull, and the mind is very, very difficult to control. Generally, when there is a tornado, the weather department can do only one thing: give a notice, evacuate. You cannot stop a tornado. There is no weapon against the tornado or the cyclone. They just come and hit. But Arjuna is telling Krishna, I have the means to even control this storm, because Arjuna had various weapons, including those given by Vayu Devata, the demigod of air. So he could control that, but he had no means to control the mind. So here is Arjuna, who was such a skillful warrior that he had practically defeated everybody, but still he was feeling helpless. So therefore now, having understood the power of this mind, what do we do? What is the solution? And the solution is how to improve our mindfulness. How do we practice mindfulness? Understanding the power of the mind. So in Sanskrit or in Hindi, when you do like this, what is it called? One is namaskar, other is pranam. Right? Pranam. Pranam means to salute. So how do we bring the mind under control? So I have created an acronym here called pranams. So the first is practice. How do we control this mind? First is practice. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha gruhyate. So there is an interesting story that Dronacharya had told everybody, that at any cost do not feed Arjuna food in the dark. Nobody knew why. But one day as Arjuna was eating, suddenly there was a gust of wind, and then the lamp which was nearby, it blew off. And there was pitch dark, and Arjuna continued eating. And Arjuna started thinking, if I can eat in the dark, why I cannot practice in the dark? And so that moment Arjuna changed his schedule and decided, I will not only practice archery in the day, I will also practice at night. So therefore Arjuna's one name is Gauranga. So Arjuna developed such resilience, such power because of his relentless practice. So one should not think that things will come easy just by aspiring. We have to strive for it also. Just like one of my friends had gone to a program for a conference, and somebody gave him a visiting card, and on the visiting card was that gentleman's name, and below that was his educational qualification. It was written PhD BF. So he was bewildered. What is his educational qualification? He said, this means PhD but fail. So he said, I never saw such an educational qualification before in a business card. What does it mean? He said, well, my father wanted me to be a PhD. So there was social pressure. So I joined. After 2 years I realized I am not meant for this. So I jumped out, but I wanted to visit conferences, so I decided, let me put, to be honest, PhD but add BF. And you know what? Most people think that BF is a qualification beyond PhD. You are the first person who is asking such uncomfortable questions. So we should not think that without striving hard and practice and being willing to work, automatically the mind will come under control. So that's the first principle of P, which is practice. Second, R stands for replace. So we have to replace our old habits with new ones and offer a higher taste for the mind. What is the law of attraction? That whatever we are attracted to, we become absorbed in. Right? If someone gives you an ice cream, it's very easy to be absorbed in eating the ice cream. Why? We are attracted. Without that attraction, there cannot be an absorption. And therefore, it is described here, we have to replace this with this. So in the Gita it is said, Vishyavani vartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Vinivartante means we have to retire the mind forcibly from the contact with the senses. So we have to replace it. One thing we should not imagine, that just with time habits will change automatically. With time desires will change automatically. With time my ego will change automatically. We have to strive. There was a miser who was very stingy with money, and he was on a boat ride with his friend. Couple of friends were there with him, and in the middle of the journey he took out his wallet and started counting how much money he has. It's an old time, before credit cards came. So as he was checking his money, suddenly a 25-cent coin fell inside the river. So when the 25-cent fell inside, it was like a heart attack. He said, my God, 25-cent has fallen in. So to get it, he jumped in. When he jumped in the river, he forgot he doesn't know swimming. And as he was drowning, he was putting his hand up. And he was saying, save me, save me. And there was this friend who was on the boat who put his hand out and said, come on, give me your hand, give me your hand. This guy said, save me, give me your hand, save me. So the other friend said, hey, you are speaking a language he does not understand. You are saying, give me your hand. He has never given anything in life. He does not understand the meaning of the word give, give. You show your hand and say, take my hand, take my hand. Change the language. So he put his hand and said, take my hand. Khatak, immediately he took. He got saved. Why? He did not have a context of give. So therefore, we have to replace our habits. And for that, the third principle is abstain. Abstain means we have to keep distance from certain sense objects, certain past conditionings. And fourth is neglect. We will have to neglect some of the thoughts which come in our mind, which push us in certain direction. We have to allow it to pass and not take action upon them. And then also we have to neglect small things, because we should not feel that everything is crucial. So we have to be very, very focused. And so then based on this, we are able to actually associate with people who help us stay focused on this path, to help us control our mind, to control our senses, to control our desires. And then M stands for meditation. Some meditation to slow down the speed of the mind and help us become more mindful. And S stands for study. Study these literatures which help us understand the nature of the mind and and control our mind. So this is what I call as the formula of pronouns, which actually helps us control our mind and focus our attention. So therefore, this entire concept of mindfulness, when applied in a leadership paradigm, it has three aspects to it, and I'll conclude with that. And these three aspects are different from the typical leadership paradigm of leading from top down. This paradigm is leading from inside out. So the first element of mindful leadership is, number one, self-awareness. You become more aware about your own self. You become more aware about what you have within, what's going on within you. And this, as I described before, consists of thinking, feeling, willing. That self-awareness is the beginning of mindful leadership. Without that self-awareness, you cannot even make the right decisions. The self-awareness is also being aware of your weaknesses. And I was sharing the story the other day. Russia attacked Finland in 1939 November. The Russian army was several times larger than the Finnish army. Air Force had more number of planes. Number of soldiers were larger. It appeared that the war would be over in 2 days. And the Finnish army also realized that they are going to be decimated completely. But somehow, they decided that externally we are going to be wiped out, but let us bring our strength from within. And they have a concept in their culture called Shishu. Shishu means a kind of tolerance which one displays from within, which one has no awareness of till one is pushed against the wall. So each one of us carry a tremendous amount of internal resilience, strength and power, which we are not aware of. All of us have the capacity of a very high degree of tolerance. But there is a method by which we can develop it, we can grow it, and not think defeat for an answer. So when we are convinced that circumstances may try to defeat me, circumstances may defeat me, but my will and my desire refuses to accept the defeat and I continue striving. That's called Shishu. I'll share an example. I was going for a program at IIT Hartford, which is 3 hours from Kolkata. So I was traveling with a couple of my friends from America, and our flight landed at Kolkata airport. When the flight landed, we were welcomed with garlands, and then I was told by the local organizer that it is Bengal Band that day. So those who are from India know what it means. It means it's like a strike. There is a strike all over Bengal. Curfew, nothing moves. Some political party had called a band or a strike. So I told the organizer, so that means today there is no program because we have to drive 3 hours. And if it is strike, we cannot drive. They said, no, the program is on. I said, how will you drive? They said, we have come to pick you up in an ambulance. I was impressed. I said, my God, that's called out-of-box thinking. And as I was entering the ambulance, my 2 friends from America asked me, why are we going in an ambulance? I said, it's very difficult for me to explain what's a strike or band in India. Sometimes people may throw stone also. But even if that happens, we are in the right vehicle. The ambulance. Don't worry, let's go. So as we were going, people were trying to stop us. And as they were stopping us, I was giving the prasad and we were moving ahead, and at one point of time, there was one gentleman who looked behind. He said, I want to see who's there. So he looked inside and he saw these two of my friends with garlands after taking breakfast were sleeping peacefully. He looked inside and said, may their souls rest in peace. And we reached within 2 hours. So sometimes, you may think it's hopeless. When the circumstances appear hopeless, when the consciousness is brimming with hope, that's the kind of tolerance which Krishna is speaking about in Gita, called Sahishnuta, or tolerance. So this is the self-awareness, that whatever may be the external powers which confront you, be aware of your internal strength and power. There is no limit to that. Circumstances have a limit. Consciousness has no limit. Second, interpersonal awareness, which means empathy and respect for others' choices, feelings, emotions. Second, awareness of others' abilities and inclinations. And most importantly, caring for others. So therefore, when you have self-awareness, interpersonal awareness, and then third, you have what is called as organizational awareness, where you are aware of the values and the purpose of the organization, synergy and the systems which you can put in place. When you have self-awareness, when you have interpersonal awareness, then you also become endowed with the capacity to have very deep organizational awareness. So overall, when you are endowed with an enhanced sense of self, interpersonal and organizational awareness, then your leadership is not top down, it is inside out. And that would come in the category of what we call as mindful leadership. And that's basically what today we discussed. First point we discussed was about what's the whole idea of mindfulness, right from observation, awareness, all the way till getting the actions and the results. When you have enhanced choices, better decision making. So when you have observation, awareness, you have better choices, more awareness, you could make better decisions and then better actions. Based on those actions, you get better results. Then we discussed the two aspects of the mind, which is distracted and dull, and the mind by nature is mighty, intoxicated, nomadic, and disobedient. So having understood the power of this mind, we need to have the principle of pranams to control the mind. So what is the practice of mindfulness comprised of? Pranams. What is pranams? P for? R for? Replace. A for? Abstain. N for? Neglect. A for? What is the second A? A-R-A-N-A. Yes, absorb. M, meditate. S for study. So then when you go through this process, you get the ability to control the mind. So then when you have better control over your mind, then you can start applying this in your leadership paradigm, which is not top down but inside out. And it basically consists of three things: self-awareness, interpersonal awareness, and organizational awareness. That's the overall paradigm of mindful leadership. I'm very grateful to you that you came here during your break time and attended this session. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
We have a few minutes for questions or comments if anybody wants to add regarding anything.
In the beginning, you talked about expectation and reality. So, like, how do we set the expectation so that we are not that, when we don't reach that goal or something? How should we?
Okay, what's your name?
Suyash.
Suyash has a nice question. He says, is the secret keeping less expectation so that we don't get frustrated or we don't get depressed? No. The secret is you can be as ambitious as you want, but you should be extremely flexible when you do not reach those expectations. And even if you fail, if the mind is flexible, you continue creating fresh goals. And that's why I said that why do we feel depressed when we fail? Because we think I am the doer. So both success, so pride in success and moroseness in defeat have to be transcended. And therefore, there are 4 levels of motivation for work. Fear. We work because of fear. If I don't study, I will fail. If I don't work, I will not get promotion. If I don't, then what? So that is under the influence of mode of ignorance. Under the mode of passion, we work under desire. I want to achieve this. Why? So that I am glorified, I am worshipped, I make money, I get control. That's passion. Under influence of ignorance and passion, there will always be these dualities. And therefore, you have to go above. And there will be dissatisfaction at both these levels. Externally, you may achieve, but because it is under the influence of mode of passion and ignorance, the experience of joy and satisfaction will not be there. That satisfaction and joy starts at the mode of goodness. And in mode of goodness, you do out of a sense of duty. I must do it because it is my duty. Whether I like it or not like it, I will do it. I will try and study my best. So rather than being so overly worried about result, you should be focused on the process. Because if every step of the process you do right, result is a natural outcome. Sthire hoya ghare yahu na hao batul, krame karame paye lok bhava sindhu kul. If you are swimming across from this bank to other bank of the river, you can't be always focused on where is that bank, where is that bank. No, you focus on the next stroke, next movement of the hands and the legs. That takes you 1 foot, then the next foot, then the next foot, and then you reach. So the mistake many times people make is they are so overwhelmed just with the thoughts of only the result all the time that during the process they are not focused. So therefore you put your entire energy in the process and experience the joy of giving your 100% for a certain activity, knowing that this is the right thing to do. So there is a big difference in that. Okay? Thank you. Anything else?
Any last question or comment?
Okay, thank you all very much. I would like to just end with a small video. Somebody was going to show the video, right? So this is a small example of mindful leadership which I wanted to share with all of you. That we created a community of a sustainable eco-village near Mumbai, and this is not that video. Ah, yeah, this one, yeah. So this is an eco village on the outskirts.
Rampant illiteracy, malnutrition, and lack of infrastructure. This is the story of Wada, one of India's most backward tribal areas. However, since 2010, ecotourism has become a lifeline for this region. Govardhan Eco-Village's sustainable development model, which is based on harmony with the self, the environment, and the divine, has helped employ over 300 tribal families. More than 60,000 tribals have been provided free medical care. 30,000 free meals are provided to school children every day. Over 60 boilers have been installed. More than 300 families received training in organic farming. Govardhan Eco-Village has transformed the lives of the most deprived communities in the world.
What is the other one? 7 days. Oh, okay. Show this one.
And the winner of the 13th UNWTO Award for Innovation in Non-Governmental Organization is
Yes. Volume.
Govardhan Eco-Village Ecotourism as a catalyst for rural development. It's my honor and privilege to receive this award on behalf of the land of India. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to UNWTO for giving us this opportunity to share this message of sustainability on a larger scale, especially in this very special year where this year is being celebrated as the year of sustainable tourism. My heartfelt gratitude to Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, founder of ISKCON, His Holiness Radhanath Swami, who is the founder of the Govardhan Eco-Village, Gauranga Prabhu, who is heading the rural development program at Govardhan Eco-Village, community of devotees of ISKCON worldwide for their support, Vijayasara Vishwanath, who has been our main guide in this project with Eco-Village, to our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji for spreading the message of yoga and Vedic culture all over the world, and specifically to the Ministry of Tourism for the support, Government of India, and we hope and pray that we'll be able to utilize this honor to spread the message of peace, harmony, and sustainability more and more. Thank you very much.
Rampant illiteracy, malnutrition, and lack of infrastructure. This is the story of Wada, one of India's most backward tribal areas. However, since 2010,
It's a very holy place, which is considered most sacred to possessions. It's called Vrindavan. And in that Vrindavan is a mountain named Govardhan, which represents environmental, ecological harmony with spiritual principles.
This place is very special. Certainly, it's unique in India and perhaps unique in the whole world. It's like a retreat center. It's like a spa. It's like an ashram. It's a place that's designed as an experiment to merge environmentalism, animal rights, and bhakti, spirituality, together, and it's working.
The amenities here are of a whole nother caliber. People, when they think of the words India and ashram, they think of harsh and rough living. From the Ayurvedic clinic which not only gives treatments but also has an Ayurvedic doctor who helps prescribe something that is specific for your dosha. The atmosphere that is created by the founder, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and the atmosphere that is created by the devotees who work here is palpable. You can feel it in the air.
Originally, I was from Chicago. When I was 19 years old in 1970, I wanted to try to broaden my outlook of life. So I went on a journey. Ultimately, I hitchhiked from London to the Himalayas in India. And as I was traveling, I came to realize that the real social and environmental problems of the world are due to a spiritual crisis. A crisis in what we consider is actually meaningful and fulfilling in our life.
Radhanath Swami is a passionate person. The best passion is compassion, and he has an ample amount of that, and that type of passion is contagious.
Coming here and helping, doing the seva, the service, helping with the cows, helping with to weave mats, helping with make pottery. It's actually fun. It's a very simple lifestyle. And I think a lot of us crave that on different levels.
And it's sort of programmed into our culture is that you look for recognition. You need it. For me, being here, I see it's far more powerful to be humble.
It was easy to complain about the tiny inconveniences that come with a New York City apartment. Oh, it's not big enough. Oh, the water pressure isn't great enough. When you live in a house that you see built from the ground up, every step along the way is very special.
Inspire an educational, experiential alternative of a fulfilling, meaningful, sustainable, healthy life.
Apart from these jasmine flowers which you see, he grows a lot of his ladyfingers, okra. Yeah. So we network with all these farmers so that we purchase them in our kitchen and use them.
Can we get them to the kitchen? Give them to India.
And the inspiration of this project, Srila Prabhupada, he called this transformation simple living and high thinking.
We get 3,000 millimeters of rain annually. So the rainwater hits against those mountains, the Sahyadri mountain ranges, and flows down and collects here. And it is sufficient water for us to irrigate our fields for up to 6 to 7 months every year. The majority of India's population, which is 1.2 billion, lives in the villages. So one of the very important requirements to develop a village is how can water be conserved.
Process begins here. As you can see, the raw sewage is falling and there are some screens. The first chamber is called screen chamber, where we're trying to separate floating solids. This is the raw water where we began, and this is the treated water.
The uniqueness of this place comes from the fact that every waste is becoming a precious resource. That cow dung becomes a fertilizer for earth. He needs fire or energy for cooking his food, and therefore all of the cow dung we utilize for biogas plant. We need to make houses, so we use the same earth, and we have created 250,000 bricks. We call this a symbiotic recycling model. Flushing your toilet, you are contributing to the growth of a papaya. You are contributing to the growth of flowers.
One of the greatest management gurus says that the greatest management challenge of the 21st century is managing oneself.
Many corporate heads are having seminars and retreats here. And they also see alternative ways by which they could focus their own corporations and feel a real sense of responsibility to humanity.
The thing I'm most compelled to do when I get home is really a seva. It's service. It gets us out of being so self-absorbed.
I always had too much. And now I want to have a simple life, like here. I love simple life, and my goal is to make a simple life in my home.
And if we just refocus our energies with these values, we could transform the world.
Dance